This is an intro. Who needs an intro? I don't need an intro. This is just a vape show. It's just a vape show. Vape show. This is an intro. Who needs an intro? I don't need an intro. This is just a vape show. It's just a vape show. Vape show.
YouTube, what's up? I'm your homeboy Josh, back at you with a look at the Nautilus X. But before we do, I do want to take the time to remind you, we all have a part to play in the fight against Big Pharma, Big Tobacco, the FDA, and the deeming regulations that are looming over our heads. That means if you're on social media, remember you need to paint the best possible image of the vape community that you can. Remember, if you're a shop or a shop owner, you need to educate your customers about the fight and the role that they need to play in it. Remember to follow all of CASAA's calls to action, including that to support HR 2058 and the Cole Bishop Amendment. We all have a part to play, guys. The Nautilus X by Aspire, sent over free for the purpose of this review by heavengifts.com. There's also a promo code you can use at heavengifts.com. They'll give you 15% off. That is un-homeboy. Get it? Because you're an homeboy. It's cute. It's funny. Anyway, full disclosure, I do get a 12% commission on your full cart at Heaven Gifts when you use that promo code. So use it if you want to support the channel, support me. I definitely would appreciate it if you do, but it's not going to change my opinion of the product in any way. The Nautilus X. The Nautilus X is a 2 milliliter tiny little thing that is very reminiscent in a lot of ways of the Cleito, if you ask me. The Nautilus X packaging is, well, it's delightful, for lack of a better word. The jewel case that it comes in sort of has this little area that bubbles out, and I just love the look of it, how it sort of magnifies and accentuates the X that frames the Nautilus X device itself. And you've got little bits of information in the corners that X creates. I don't know, there's just something about it that I just find elegant and fun. I just really dug the packaging on this one, guys. In the back of the box, you've got some information, specs about what makes the Nautilus X the Nautilus X. And when you open up the jewel case and take out the tank, hiding behind this little bit of paper that was framing the tank itself, you've got a spare tank and a spare coil set into this bit of styrofoam here. The tank breaks down so you get your drip tip, your tank, your coil, which also acts as your chimney here, and your base. And like I said, you also get that spare tank and that spare coil as well. Very reminiscent of the Cleito in the looks, in the shape, in the way that the coil works. Because the coil acts as the chimney as well. This is actually from the inside of the tank, bottom to the top, is just a coil. There is no separate chimney or anything, that's just the coil. If you ask me, the Nautilus X should really be called the Cleito X. Because when you get right down to it, the Nautilus X is basically a mouth-to-lung version of the Aspire Cleito. There's no chimney in this tank, just a coil. And what makes this coil a bit more interesting for me than the coil that you found in the Cleito, this coil is actually set off to the side, the coil itself in this casing, rather than in the middle. It's kind of interesting the way that they decided to do that. I can't say I've seen that before. And the airflow comes on in from the top rather than from the bottom, creating an entirely leak-free design. It's actually a really nice reimagining of the Cleito, if you ask me, for the mouth-to-lung vapor. And it's a 1.5 ohm coil rated to go from 14 to 22 watts. So it's not for you high wattage vapors out there. It's definitely for you mouth-to-lungers, definitely for you low wattage vapors and you newbies out there. Plenty of good wicking on the coil head. Haven't had a dry hit out of this tank yet. But, you know, again, low wattage. You don't want to turn this one up too high, guys. The coil itself seems to be about 30 gauge, 30, 32, and it's wrapped single coil with a bit of a spacing there. The drip tip functions very similarly to the Cleito's drip tip as well. It's sort of like an O-ring on the inside of the bottom portion of this drip tip that's raising up from the bottom. Nothing else can fit on here from what I can tell. Can a standard drip tip fit? No. Delrin material, it is removable, but you can't really use your own drip tips here. It's really only made to fit this one bit of Delrin up at the top, which I kind of wish they made it a standard 510 drip tip, I won't lie. And I also wonder why even bother making it removable? If you can't use your own drip tips on it, really what's the point of it being removable at all? No way to fit a standard drip tip. I don't like that. I wish I was able to use my own drip tips. See, this product is very much for the new vapor. And as a new vapor, everything that I wanted to do was accessorize. I mean, I love getting new drip tips for my devices, and I hated when things wouldn't fit. And this is one of those devices that you can't use your own drip tips on. I don't like that at all, especially for a new vapor that wants to play around and accessorize.
If you ask me, the top cap is where most of the excellent flavor from the Nautilus X comes from. When the vapor hits the top of the tank like this, it goes through this series of gradations where the roof of that top cap gets smaller and smaller and tighter until it hits your lips, creating some really nice turbulence in the airflow and just concentrating that vapor into a more tightly packed space until it hits your mouth.
And the airflow is at the top, and it's actually very, very difficult to see if you ask me, especially on this black version. I kind of wish that I had a stainless steel version to show you guys so you could see the ins and outs of everything just a little bit better. And it's also completely leak-proof, which I love, especially for the new vapor. The new vapor doesn't want to deal with leaking or anything like that. This is a top airflow system, which I think is really, really cool, the way that they did it. How the airflow comes in right underneath the drip tip, the airflow on the coil lines up with that, the wicking is down at the bottom with the coil at the bottom. It just works perfectly because it comes in at the top, cycles down to the coil, and then back up to your mouth and your lips. It's very well engineered, honestly. I really like the way that this coil system works and the way that it's not going to leak on you ever, because there's no airflow at the bottom. There's no coil openings at the bottom. Everything is at the top.
The airflow here is teeny. There's only a very teeny amount of airflow here, and that's probably the only thing that really resembles the Nautilus here. But if you ask me, I feel like the Nautilus had more airflow than this. You can manage a straight to lung hit out of this, but it's not very easy, and it's very, very restricted. It's definitely more for the mouth to lung style vapor here. But the airflow is adjustable at the top of the top cap. There are 2 airflow holes here at the top of the drip tip. And the airflow basically comes in at the side, travels down to the coil, and then back up right at you.
I guess you could take a long hit with it. It's the most restrictive long hit you've ever experienced, but I actually prefer it as a mouth to lung hit, if I'm being honest. It's a great tank for the new vapor. The Nautilus, the original Nautilus, was what really worked for me and my wife, getting us off of cigarettes permanently. There was a while where we looked at each other vaping on the Nautilus tank, the original Nautilus tank, and we said, I don't think we'll ever need anything more than this. Filling it is super, super easy. It's basically unscrew this top section and then dump the juice in there, just like the Cleito did. It's basically a mouth-to-lung version of the Cleito, which is great for what it is. It's great for the new vapor. It's great for people that really love mouth-to-lung hits still. Do I like it? No, I can't vape this on a regular basis. This is honestly still the first tank that I've pushed through this thing. I can't even get through it vaping on it. I've been vaping on it for about a week, and I just don't like it at all. I don't. It's not my thing. It's just not a tank for me. But for the new vapor, for someone that loves mouth to lung, you're gonna be all about it. No, not for me though. It just doesn't suit my vaping style in any way, shape, or form. But I loved having the opportunity to take a look at it. It's gonna be great for that mouth to lung lover or that new vapor out there that's just looking to get into their first device to get off cigarettes. And that's what I love it for.
And if you want to see products like the Nautilus X stay in the market, remember, you need to do your part. Support CASAA, support Cole Bishop, support HR 2058. We all have to do our part, guys.
Anyway, guys, you can pick it up at heavengifts.com. Till next time, I'm your homeboy Josh. Vape on, Vapers.